Welcome to the Brain Bank Listen and Learn series. I'm Michelle Paulina. Today we're talking about water damage equipment repair, and with me by phone is Greg Nieberly, Product Manager for CRC Industries. Thanks for being with us, Greg.
Thanks for having me here today.
Greg, when we're talking about water damage, what types of events typically cause this damage?
There are actually many situations or occurrences that can shut down electrical equipment due to moisture. Could be anything from a hurricane to a no-name storm with heavy rains, spring flooding even, water mains or internal pipes breaking, sprinklers going off, a fire event in an adjacent building, or even high humidity conditions where the equipment has remained idle for long periods of time.
I know that in Chicago there was a flood there that was man-made when a utility tunnel beneath the Chicago River opened up. So are you talking about that type of event as well?
Yes, that's a great example of an unexpected event that caused a major shutdown of electrical and electronic components. CRC products were used extensively for that Chicago Loop incident using a procedure that was established back in 1972 when Hurricane Agnes hit Pennsylvania as a Category 1 storm. After that storm, CRC reps and distributors first applied our water restoration procedure, saving area businesses hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, once you get into a situation where material becomes dampened or wet, it can create a dangerous situation, can't it?
Absolutely. We all know what effects moisture can have on energized equipment, everything from shorting and burnout to complete failure or even worse. You should never attempt to operate or test your water-damaged equipment without properly restoring it first.
I read an industry website that said when this occurs, simply allowing the equipment to dry out and then re-energizing is not recommended.
That's right. I mean, everyone's first instinct is to get that flooded equipment out of the water and then to have it dry out. But if you really think about it, once the equipment is removed from the water and exposed to air, corrosion's going to set in, and that's where problems are going to occur. That can lead to costly repairs, waiting for replacement parts, and even lengthy downtimes. So we find it best to leave the equipment wet until you're ready to use our procedure on the damaged equipment.
Before we get into solutions, what kind of equipment are we talking about, and what kind of damage can this incur?
Really, it's any electrical or electronic equipment that has been shut down due to the effects of moisture. I mean, this can include everything from motors, panel boards, ratio controllers, pumps, and even computers. And depending on the types of contaminants that were introduced, the damage could be as simple as the loss of electrical properties to complete damage due to wastewater and petroleum contaminants being present that could further damage the equipment.
So what is the solution? For example, I see you offer many products. Let's start by talking about the ones that should be selected first for these applications.
Yeah, basically it takes the right combination of products and the right procedure to get the equipment back up and running properly. As I mentioned earlier, first we suggest everything stay wet or submerged until you're ready to apply the process. And once you're ready to go, that's when you open up the equipment and flush it with a potable water and even a water-based cleaner such as our HydroForce products to remove any water-based contaminants. At that point, you would then inspect the equipment for any other contaminants such as greases or oils. If any of those are found or present, you would then use a solvent-based cleaner to remove those.
So we've got the cleaners and the degreasers. What's next?
The next and most critical step is to thoroughly flush the equipment with a moisture-displacing product such as our 226 multi-purpose lubricant. This product will displace the moisture from the equipment, provide startup lubrication, and also provide a barrier to keep additional moisture from getting into the system. And lastly, we'd then suggest that any electrical contacts are cleaned with a precision cleaner to improve the conductivity when the equipment is powered back on.
Another caveat that I read was to disconnect all power and to measure resistance in equipment before re-energizing it. I suspect what the article was really saying was to make sure this work is conducted by a well-qualified electrical professional.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. I mean, it's extremely important that this process be implemented by a qualified electrical professional. And one of the last steps in the procedure is, in fact, to measure the resistance prior to re-energizing and repeat the process I just outlined as needed, to ensure the equipment is back and ready to get back online. One of the interesting things we found out is when this procedure is applied properly, in many cases the restored equipment will operate better than it did before the event since it has just been cleaned and lubricated.
This is such an important subject, Greg. Is there anything I've missed, or is there anything you'd like to reemphasize?
I think it's important for maintenance professionals and contractors just to recognize that properly selected and applied MRO chemicals can quickly and inexpensively get equipment and businesses back online using our proven procedure. Obviously the alternative is to buy replacement parts or entirely new equipment, which can be very costly both in downtime and replacement cost. We have almost 40 years' experience working with customers to help them properly apply this proven procedure. And I also wanted to point out that it's really not uncommon for insurance companies to contact us after these events to get the procedure out to the affected areas in order to help their customers keep the cost down while maximizing their productivity.
If our viewers want more information, where can they go?
The CRC website has all this information on it really in more detail, so it's a great resource for this at www.crcindustries.com/EI, or they can certainly call our technical services hotline at 1-800-521-3168.
Greg, this is such an important topic and is oftentimes out of mind until you really need it. We appreciate you being with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me today.
And thank you for joining us for today's Brain Bank Listen and Learn series. We'll see you next time.